"It's time you help family," my mom scolded. "Mason and Vanessa will move in next month." "Too late," I said. "I'm moving 300 miles away." On move-in day, they stood outside, stunned. I'm a 29-year-old lady who's always been the person my relatives depended on, but never the one they cared about most. My entire existence has been a steady hint that my big brother, Mason, 32, male, was the star, while I was merely around, the trusty fallback option. But one morning I chose to stop being anyone's afterthought. Looking back, I can pinpoint the exact second when something within me shifted. It wasn't when I caught my mom and dad telling my granddad that Mason should get the family's wealth because he had trouble staying steady, while I'd always managed somehow. It wasn't when they missed my university ceremony to watch Mason's softball match. It wasn't even when they took $5,000 from me to rescue Mason and his spouse, Vanessa, after their third money disaster in only 2 years. No, what really crushed me was how smoothly they made choices for me, like my thoughts didn't count at all. Growing up behind Mason's glow was typical for me. When he scored the newest gaming console, I inherited his beat-up, sticky-buttoned old one. When he joined the junior high basketball squad, my parents tweaked their job hours to catch every game. But when I landed on the honor list 4 years running, my mom pinned my award on the fridge for just 3 days before swapping it with Mason's barely passing English grade, his first decent mark that term. "Mason needs extra cheering," my mom would explain, whenever I wondered why they skipped my debate events. "You're so self-reliant, Michelle. You've always been our tiny grown-up." Tiny grown-up was just a fancy term for, we don't need to fuss over you, so we don't. Though I felt overlooked, I pressed on. While Mason quit college after just 3 terms, fully funded by my parents, I juggled 2 gigs to cover my own schooling. I won grants, finished with top marks, and landed a solid position at a money advising company. Slowly, I climbed the ranks. By age 27, I'd stashed enough cash to purchase a modest 3-room home in a nice spot. It wasn't grand, but it belonged to me. Every house payment, every fix, every chair or table, I handled it all alone. No aid from my relatives, no one signing papers with me, just me. Meanwhile, Mason and Vanessa kept floundering. He treated work like a passing cold, there for a bit, then gone fast. Vanessa's spending habit only worsened things, and Mason's genius scheme to sink $10,000 borrowed from our parents into digital coins didn't fix anything. My parents kept saving him, and when their funds ran dry from aiding him, they turned to me. "Only a little loan," my dad would plead. "Mason's in a rough patch." Those little loans, $500 one time, $1,200 another, piled up. I noted every penny. Over 5 years, I'd handed my brother over $15,000. I knew that cash was gone for good. Other relatives began to see it. At family meetups, folks would drop small remarks. "So kind of you to bail out your brother again," my aunt would comment, sipping her drink with a lifted brow. My uncle didn't soften his words. "Must be sweet having a rich sister," he'd toss at Mason, right where I could hear. Some of us had to sort life out solo. Despite all this, I still went to family meals. Sundays, special days, even random weeknight dinners, when my mom would ring and say, "It's been ages since we last saw you." I'd arrive after a tiring 10-hour shift, only to spot Mason and Vanessa already lounging, feet up on the coffee table, sipping the beer I'd left from my last visit. Then came the evening that flipped it all. It was a Thursday night in October. I pulled up to my parents' place, worn out after wrapping a huge work task. The scent of my mom's homemade lasagna, my top pick, wafted through the air. That should have tipped me off that trouble was brewing. Mason's ride sat in the driveway, next to Vanessa's rented BMW, the one they clearly couldn't pay for. The meal began like usual. Mason grabbed the spotlight, chatting endlessly about his latest money-making idea, fixing up homes to sell. It seemed a couple of TV shows about house makeovers turned him into a pro. Vanessa bragged about her fancy new purse, likely pricier than my monthly home payment. My mom and dad happily agreed with all they said. I was sipping my second glass of wine when my mom coughed lightly. "Well, we've been talking," she began, looking at my dad for backup, "about how Mason and Vanessa are doing." A bad feeling hit me right away. Here we go, I thought. Another plea for cash. In my mind, I figured out how much I could spare without dipping into my backup funds. "They've had a tough time since their rent went up," my mom went on. "And with a baby on the way—" "Hold on, baby?" I cut in, totally lost. This was news to me about Vanessa expecting. "So we found a great fix," my mom ended with a happy voice. "They'll settle into your place next month. You can use the tiny room or crash with us for a bit." I stopped cold. My gut sank like I was dropping on a ride. I glanced around, hoping someone would crack up and say it was a prank. No one did. My place, I finally got out. It's the smart choice, my dad jumped in fast. You've got 3 rooms and you don't need them all alone. Vanessa, busy on her phone, piped up. I spotted the cutest baby stuff. It'll look awesome in that front room with the huge window. My front room. My window. In my home. The home I fought hard to own. This way, you won't stress about handling a big space solo, my mom said kindly, tapping my hand like she was helping me out. It's truly best for us all. They weren't checking with me. They were informing me. They'd already decided, treating my home like it was theirs to hand over, like I was meant to just agree, no questions asked. Something in me broke at last. I faked a grin. That seems fair, I said. The table eased up instantly. My mom's tension faded. My dad gave a nod, and Mason and Vanessa shared smug glances. We figured they'd move in early next month, Mason said. That leaves you roughly 3 weeks to prep it all. 3 weeks. They gave me 3 weeks to hand over my own home. Great, I answered, sipping wine again to calm my trembling fingers. I'll start boxing things up this weekend. The rest of the meal blurred by. I nodded when I had to, smiled when needed, and felt a part of me shatter each time Vanessa mentioned tweaking my home. When I got to my car to head back, my hands shook so much I could hardly grip the wheel. Warm tears rolled down my cheeks. After a few streets, I had to stop because rage and hurt clouded my eyes. I sat there, engine humming, and yelled until my voice gave out. Then I breathed deep, dried my face, and chose my next step. If they wanted my home that much, they could take it, but not how they thought. 2 months back, my job had dangled a better role. Senior consultant with a 35% pay bump. The downside, I'd need to shift to Chicago. Back then, I wasn't sure, not wanting to ditch my family, but now nothing tied me down. At 11:30 p.m. that night, I rang my boss. I'm taking the Chicago gig, I said as soon as he answered. Awesome, Michelle, he replied, caught off guard but glad. When can you begin? How fast do you want me? The quicker the better. The Hawkins project needs someone in charge. 3 weeks, I said solidly. I'll be there in 3 weeks. That timing wasn't random. The next day, I called a realtor. Not one my parents knew, but a stranger from another area. I listed my home for sale at a good price, just a tad under its value. I put my home on the market on a Friday to sell it fast. By Monday, 3 buyers had made offers. On Wednesday, I picked a cash deal that would finish in 21 days. It all lined up perfectly. For 2 weeks, I acted like the good girl my family wanted. They thought I was fixing the place for Mason and Vanessa to live there. I said I was clearing out stuff to make room for a baby space, which fit with the boxes and full closets they saw. I even asked what colors they liked for paint and what kind of curtains they wanted. To make it believable, I had Vanessa come over to talk about how to arrange things. She walked around my home like she already had it, choosing where her sofa would sit, which walls she'd redo, and saying she'd dig up my 2-year-old veggie patch because it wasn't her thing. Every rude word she said about taking my house made my hidden plan feel simpler. At the same time, I was quietly getting ready to go. I moved most of my cash to a fresh bank account, leaving just a little in the old one so they wouldn't guess anything. I signed up for a new place to live in Chicago using the internet. I sent my mail to a private box instead. I sold off stuff I didn't want and hid the rest in a storage spot with a fake name. 3 days before the sale was done, I told my family I had a job trip. Really, I flew to Chicago to set up my new home. I came back quick to sign the last papers, take my money, and pack my final bits. On the day Mason and Vanessa planned to move in, I was already 300 miles away, settling into my Chicago place with a view of Lake Michigan. Standing in my new front room, I heard the city's weird sounds. My phone kept ringing and pinging on the kitchen table with calls and notes from my family. I could see it in my mind. Mason and Vanessa showing up with a truck, my parents there to lend a hand. All of them lost on the grass as new folks carried things into their home. I imagined the new owners saying, "Yep, we got this from Michelle. Nope, she didn't say anything about family coming here. Sure, it's ours now. No idea where she's at." I enjoyed that thought for a whole minute before turning my phone quiet and starting to open boxes. The notes kept coming. My mom's voice messages went from mixed up to mad, then to begging, "How could you do this to us?" To Mason, "Where will they stay now? Call us back fast and tell us what's up. Please, Michelle, say where you are. We can make it right." 2 days later, I sent one answer, "Where I always meant to be, sorted out." Then I stopped their calls. It wasn't just my parents and Mason. I cut off everyone who took their side. My cousin Melissa wrote, "You've always hated Mason. This is bad even for you." Stopped. An uncle said, "Your grandpa would hate this." Stopped. An aunt added, "Your mom's been crying since you pulled this. Is that what you wanted?" Stopped. Every person I cut off felt like losing a heavy bag I'd carried too long. 2 weeks after I left, Jen, a lady I used to work with, sent a note. She didn't know my family much but heard the talk. So, Mason and his pregnant wife are staying in your parents' basement. Your mom says you went nuts. Thought you'd like to know. I didn't write back, but I didn't stop her either. Jen became my small way to peek at the life I left. A month later, she sent another note. That online money thing Mason loved? He put in way more cash than anyone thought. A bunch more. That didn't shock me. Mason always made silly choices. What had surprised me was hearing he got my parents to put all their old age savings into it too. The first time the cryptocurrency market crashed, Mason panicked. Instead of cutting his losses, he made things worse by borrowing from 3 payday loan companies to buy more. On top of that, he maxed out 2 credit cards, both secretly opened in my parents' names. They remained unaware of these accounts until debt collectors began calling. By the 3rd month, everything had completely unraveled. The cryptocurrency investment turned out to be a scam. Mason was now facing possible legal trouble because of a shady side business tied to it. My parents, desperate to help him, took out a second mortgage just to cover his most urgent debts. Meanwhile, Vanessa, now pregnant, was threatening to leave him. I felt a flicker of sympathy, not for Mason or my parents, but for the baby who would be born into this chaos. Without revealing my identity, I sent a gift card for a baby store to Vanessa's mother's house. That was the only moment where guilt managed to break through. At the same time, my life in Chicago was everything I had dreamed of. My new job challenged me in ways my old one never had. I made friends who knew nothing about my past, people who saw me as strong and capable, so different from the way my family had always treated me. 6 months after leaving, a letter arrived, forwarded from my old P.O. box. The return address belonged to my grandfather's nursing home. Inside was a short note, written in shaky handwriting. Michelle, I heard about what happened. Your mother has her version of events, but I suspect the truth is different. I always knew you were the strong and intelligent one. I regret allowing your parents to convince me that Mason needed more support in the will. They assured me you would always be fine on your own, so I gave him extra help. But now I realize who truly needed protection. I've changed my will. It's not much, but it's something. I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself. Love, Grandpa. For the first time since walking away, I cried. Not from guilt or sadness, but because finally someone in my family had truly seen me. 9 months after I left, Mason and Vanessa welcomed their baby, a girl. They named her Michelle. According to Jen, Vanessa had chosen the name as an attempt to make peace. I sent another anonymous gift, this time a savings bond that would mature when the child turned 18. The note attached simply read, "For college, no strings attached." I had shut my family out, but I wasn't heartless. The baby didn't deserve to suffer for her parents' mistakes. 1 year after I left, an unfamiliar number appeared on my phone screen. Against my better judgment, I answered. Michelle, it was my mother. Her voice was hesitant. I stayed silent, waiting. "Please don't hang up," she said quickly. "We need help. Your father had a mild heart attack last month, and the medical bills are overwhelming. Mason, Vanessa, and the baby are still living with us. We're drowning. If we don't find a way to fix this, we'll lose the house." The person I used to be would have immediately tried to figure out how much money I could send. The person I used to be would have felt responsible. But I wasn't that person anymore. "I'm sorry to hear that," I replied calmly. "I hope Dad gets better soon." Her voice wavered. "That's it? Your family is struggling, and that's all you have to say? What do you expect me to say, Mom? That I'll throw my life away again to fix problems I didn't create?" The silence stretched between us. "We're your family," she finally whispered. "No," I said firmly. "You're Mason's family. I was just the backup plan, the one you assumed would always be fine while you gave him everything." A sharp inhale came from the other end. "Who told you that? Does it matter? It's always been the truth, hasn't it?" She didn't deny it. "I have to go, Mom. Take care." Then I ended the call and blocked her number. That same night, my company offered me another promotion, this time to our London office. I accepted without hesitation. More distance between me and my past felt right. On my final night in Chicago, I sat on my balcony, a glass of wine in hand, watching the city lights shimmer against the lake. I thought about the person I used to be, the one who lived for approval, who constantly sacrificed her own happiness for others. That version of me no longer existed. Now I understood that real family doesn't drain you and call it love. Setting boundaries isn't an act of selfishness. It's a necessity. Walking away doesn't mean surrendering. It means giving yourself permission to move forward. Though I lost my family, I discovered myself in the process. In the end, that turned out to be the better outcome. Raising my glass toward the Chicago skyline, I toasted to fresh starts, to the strength of refusing to be used, and to the unexpected freedom that comes with prioritizing yourself. Just then, my phone lit up with a message from my soon-to-be London roommate, confirming my arrival details. A new city awaited me, filled with challenges to overcome and opportunities to shape the future I had always deserved. For years, my family believed I would always be there to catch them when they stumbled. Instead, I learned to stand on my own. They assumed I would continue sacrificing my well-being for their comfort, but instead I walked away and created a life where I no longer needed to suffer for their sake, and I had no intention of ever returning to that cold, draining existence again.